Taylor Swift positions herself and her brand as the all-American girl, the girl next door. In addition to that, when we look at Taylor Swift, her music, her brand, her personal brand, and at the core of it is authenticity. She's relatable, works hard, confident. This is her brand. This is how she projects her brand image. And in essence, this is how she positions her brand. So in this podcast, we're going to talk about brand positioning. Some of the more popular brands that are out there today that have executed solid brand positionings would be Google, Tesla, Apple, Nike, Amazon, and Coca-Cola. All of you can relate with these brands and also connect deeply with their brands and their brand logos. So this is Mark Spielis at Central Michigan University. Thanks for joining me in this podcast. So we're going to talk about brand positioning. How do we get there? What are the essence of brand positioning? Because brand positioning is not something we just create instantaneously. It takes some development. And so we start with, for any company and any brand, you start with what you do best, your core competency, your strength, and then what is your strategy? And based on that strength, how do you create value for your customers in the product or the service that you provide? All right, so that would be the first step. Whatever your brand position is, it should align with your core competencies. Next, we do some segmentation, determine people's state of mind, gathering the psychographic information as part of segmentation. Next, we identify target market, and then we create the product persona. That is our positioning, right? So I'm just framing up right now the various steps we're going to go through. I'll explain these as well. Okay, so this is the segmentation portion of getting to a brand position. Next, we need to get customers' attention. We do this primarily through social media marketing. I call this the ACL path: attention, connection, loyalty, right? Building a strong brand. So at the end, this position that we create is our brand. It's our brand. So let's explore these steps in a little bit detail with some examples. So again, we start with our strength. What do we do really well? And how does that strength differentiate us from our competitors? So our brand strength is a core competency. This is something that we build up. The core competency, our strength, we build up over a longer period of time, like a six-pack of abs. Like we spend a lot of time building up towards that. All right, so this core competency and brand strength, the foundation of it is our product, our service, and attributes that customers see in our product. Customers also need to see a value in our product as well, a benefit. Okay, so look at this as the foundation. So business strategy takes into account our strengths as an organization. And those business strategies fall into three categories: cost, differentiation, and then focus. Let's use an example, easier to see this. So Super 8 Motel, they focus on a cost business strategy. So they have clean rooms. So this is the bare basics, right? When you stay at, whether it's Super 8, Motel 6, or it's Courtyard, maybe it's Holiday Inn Express, you expect clean rooms. You expect at least good service, like they're going to at least service you. But how does Super 8 differentiate themselves? How do customers see it? They see it through low price. All right, so that compares to a differentiation strategy where generally service is higher. So when you look at Courtyard by Marriott, they have a higher level of service. They provide more amenities. You expect maybe a little bit larger rooms and a space for you to sit down and do your work. So Courtyard by Marriott falls into a differentiation strategy. And then lastly, focus strategy. Focus strategy is really carved out in a niche. So when we look at that relative to hotels, the Ritz-Carlton is a good example of a focus strategy. Ritz-Carlton, high-end, luxury hotel, they focus on the top 5% of business travelers, right? Business and leisure both, but the top 5%. So they're very focused on high-end luxury. The closest one to Mount Pleasant would be Chicago, right? So you'd have to travel quite a ways. There's a concentration of people who travel in Chicago, so they would stay at the Ritz-Carlton. So to show you how, so this would be a view from one of the rooms at Ritz-Carlton in Chicago, right? So they have what's called the $2,000 rule. And basically this rule empowers employees who work at the Ritz-Carlton to spend up to $2,000 per day to resolve any guest issues or complaints. This is high-end service, right? You wouldn't get this at a Motel 6, okay? So they can do that without getting approval from their superiors or boss. When I grew up, we traveled quite a bit to the East Coast, the east side of Pennsylvania. And it was more than a one-day trip, so we would always spend the night. We'd stay somewhere, and I remember always hoping that we could stay at a Holiday Inn because they had pools. Like that was what was a focus for me. But Holiday Inn suffered from being middle of the road. In other words, they did not distinguish themselves on cost or differentiation. They kind of tried to play all angles. They did not select one of those different generic strategies. So back in 2007, Holiday Inn rebranded themselves. They spent $1 billion and they rebranded themselves as something similar to a Courtyard Marriott, a little higher end as far as service, larger rooms, nicer rooms, better amenities. Okay, so they have now selected a little more of a differentiation strategy. All right, so this is all the foundation that you have to start with. Now, if we move on, we now need to gather information on our customer to allow us to segment. One of the more important areas of segmentation today is psychographic segmentation. And this is gathering information on our customers regarding their beliefs, their values, and their feelings. These are the things that go on inside their mind, drive their motivation. These are things that are not always visible and not always present relative to consumers' purchases, right? This information is gathered from social media marketing, website analytics. That might be Google search and Google Analytics are able to pull that, or it could be a third party like Adobe or Oracle. They're out pulling information regarding psychographic segmentation. To follow along, first we segment, secondly we identify our target market. So staying in the context of a hotel, maybe you want to now segment families and you want to segment and select, you want to target families, right? So that you've selected now your target market, which are families that are traveling, right? So you're going to now cater to the amenities of a pool or a water park, whatever that is, as part of your strategy. Now we create, now that we've identified our target market, we want to create our brand persona. And basically, this is how we connect with our customer. When we create a persona, this is how customers see our brand. This is our position, our brand, right? So this is how we position our brand. So even though Apple has had an evolution in regards to their logo, we view their brand as innovative, cutting edge, connected. So that brand says something about Apple and their innovation over the years. So now we move into, we've made this persona with our brand, where we now need to get the attention of our customers. Now that we know the image, the brand, the position we want to portray, we get their attention, right? Mostly through social media marketing. This is all part of, I'll say, the social media steps: attention, connection, and loyalty. All right, so now we connect with the brand, going back to creating a connection. Maybe it's Nike, perhaps it's Burberry. We create a connection with the brand. So this goes back to the persona, this goes back to feelings and values and attitudes, right? So a brand reflects those same attitudes. And now we create next step is loyalty. This is after we've connected, we've gotten a customer's attention, we've connected. Now we're creating this loyalty. And today, this is where brands are investing a lot in creating these long-term loyalty, this long-term loyalty with their customers, right? So it's an important part of branding and creating a position strategy. All right, so hopefully I was able to put pieces of the puzzle together for you from previous portions of marketing and now the positioning, moving from segmentation to targeting and now positioning. Thank you for joining me. Make it a great day.